Hi Bees, welcome to the new edition of Android Java tutorial. As a promise, we'll be discussing more about GitHub and Git. My name is Hamzat Habib from Kotrick Nigeria Enterprises. Now, let's take some dive into what Git really is, in addition to what we have learned earlier. Now, the Git architecture. Looking at this diagram, I told you for you to use Git, you are going to have a working directory. That is where your project code is, your project files and folders. Now, from this working directory, there is what we call index, is like a cache. And there is what we call local repository and remote repository. So this is how it all works. From your working directory, you add to your cache, that your index, and that temporarily stores your versioning. Then you commit to local repository, and that permanently stores your versioning into your local repository. For you to commit into a local repository, that means you must have created a local repository, and from your local repository you can push to your remote repository. Now, your local repository can be accessed with your Git client, and your remote repository can be accessed with your GitHub. You can pull from your remote repository to your local repository or directly to your working directory. That means all the things you have committed and all the things you have pushed rather to your remote repository can be pulled back to your working directory or to your local repository. You can fetch from your remote repository to your local repository. Take note of the term pull to working directory, fetch to local repository. Now, from local repository to working directory, we call it checkout. When you are taking from local repository into a working directory, we call it checkout. So all these terms goes a long way. You need to take note of them. Now, the Git entirely, it consists of the GitHub and the Git client. There have been an earlier tutorial on GitHub. But what about the Git client? We have two types, the Git bash and the Git GUI. Look at this, the Git bash. Most people don't like this, except for me. And Git bash is a command prompt application. It doesn't have GUI. You just type in Git commands to actually get all the things you want to do to get it done. And to make life easy, here comes the Git GUI. This is a Git GUI, and with this Git GUI, you can do everything Git bash can do. At the same time, if you don't want to use this, probably this looks kind of, you can download a customized one from vendors. Now, Git commands. There are lots of Git commands. I'm going to share the ones I've worked with, but they're much more than these. Probably you just Google them yourself and read more. Now, let's talk about the Git config. Some of these commands are commands that you have to use once when you are setting up your Git bash or your Git GUI, and some you use them over and over and over again anytime you are committing, you are pushing, you are fetching, adding, and blah blah blah. But let's take a look at them one by one. The first is the git config. Git configuration commands. Git config global user.name, then you give your username. What does it do? It makes you set your username for your Git GUI or your Git bash. Now, the name in which you want the Git to recognize you with rather. Now the Git config rather, it goes thus: Git config dash sorry, not hyphen, it's dash global user.email. Then you provide your email. Then you're done with your configuration. Now your Git init. Remember I told you you must have a working directory, right? When you have a working directory and you want to create a local repository, you use git init. Now git init, there must be local repository created for every project. Two projects cannot share the same local repository. It's not ideal. Every new project must have its separate local repository. So if you want to create a local repository for a particular project you are working on, you use git init. If you are using the git bash anyway, you use git init, then local repo name. You provide the name you want to give to the local repository. Now the git clone, if you actually want to download from other people's repository, you kind of use the git clone, and with the git clone you can provide the URL of the local repository and you can download from the local repository. Now the git status. Now with the git status, you can actually list all new or modified files to be committed. Now in your local repository, now you must have been writing code and you have a lot of files there, and you actually want to know those that have been modified or those that have not been committed yet. With the git status, it's going to list modified and uncommitted files for you. Now the git diff, it's another command. When you type the git diff, it's of various versions anyway, but the first one, git diff without anything else, git diff, it shows you differences not yet staged. What do I mean by stage? I told you there is an index, a kind of a cache that stores your version locally before taking it to the local repository. If you actually want to check differences that have not yet been staged, differences in files that have not yet been staged into that cache, which is the index, also called stage, is called git diff. Now the git dash stage, it is not hyphen, I'm sorry, it's something like this, dash staged. Now the git staged, when you're using the git stage, you are going to get the differences in file that have been staged. You know, this one gives you those ones that have not been staged, and this one give you the differences in files that has been staged into your index. You want to actually check what has been the difference between this particular file that I've staged earlier, what have I added new. This command gives you that. Now the give different first branch, second branch, obviously you can guess that it tells you the difference between a branch and another branch. Now the git add, helps you to add from your index to your local repository. After you must have created your local repository, then you would like to use the git add to actually add from your working directory rather to your stage. Forgive me. You are adding from your working directory to your stage. Now that's when you're going to use the git add. Now git remote add, this one is kind of different. Git remote add is used to add a remote repository to your local repository. You actually want to add a remote repository, you want to attach a remote repository to a local repository so that you can easily push from the local repository to that remote repository right from your git bash, or let's say right from your git client. So you use this command git remote add, the alias and the SSH address of remote repo. SSH address, it's like a key, it's two side keys. We'll explain this later, but the alias, most often it's origin. Most often than not, you use origin as your alias value, then you give the SSH address of the remote repo. With that, you kind of finally add a remote repository to your local repository. You can just push directly through from your local repository. Now the git reset, it's used to unstage file, but you kind of preserve the content. You know, after you have staged the file to your index, you want to unstage it from index. At the same time, you want to preserve the content. You are not editing, you are not kind of formatting or changing anything in the content. You just want to unstage. So you use the git reset and you give the file name. Now this is the counterpart, the git reset, that's commit. Instead of taking file name, it takes commit. And this is used to reset on stage, or let's say it's used to remove snapshots of your version history from your commits from your local repository. Thank you. I kind of missed what was. Let's continue with git commit. Now, wow, the git commit itself. I told you from your index or your stage, index is stage, mind you, you can commit from the stage to your local repository. So the command to do that is your git commit. With git commit, you say git commit dash dash m, then you give a descriptive message. Most often than not, while you are committing, just a message that can be attached to that commit. So when you want to refer to that commit, you can refer it with that descriptive message rather than using the hash code. Now the git commit, then with this descriptive message, it commits everything that is inside the stage will be committed to the local repository. Everything. Now your git branch. With git branch, you can create, when you type git branch as a command, rather, it lists all branches available for that repository, for that local repository. It lists all branches available. But with git branch of this type, the one with name of new branch, then if you use this, you will be creating a new branch. Let's say you already have a master branch and you want to create a new branch, you use this. Then that means you provide a name for the new branch. Now git checkout. Now remember I told you the word checkout. If you want to retrieve from a branch, you use checkout. Checkout is used when you want to take from a local repository to your working directory. So if you want to retrieve, you use git checkout. With git checkout, you can easily retrieve from a branch. So when you type git checkout, you give the branch you want to check out from. Now the git merge. The git merge as a command is used to combine specified branch histories into the current branch. So let's say I have a branch and I'm currently inside a branch and I have another branch in which I want to match the current branch to another branch. I just specify the name of the branch, so automatically it's going to merge what is in my current to the stated branch. Now git branch dash dash delete. It's not hyphen, it's dash dash double hyphen d. The git branch dash dash d is used to delete branch. So the ddm is delete, just delete this given branch. So then the git rm, this rm simply means remove, so it's a short form of remove. So git remove, then you specify the file to delete from the working directory and stage the deletion. So I have a file in my working directory and I want to remove that file from my working directory. I don't want to work on that file again, even in my working directory. So I'm going to use git remove. It's going to remove it from my working directory. However, it's going to stage that certain deletion has been done, certain delete has been done on a particular file. So the git remove cache, of course, when we are talking about cache, we are talking about stage. So that's the next layer after working directory. So if you want to remove file from your version control, but you want to preserve it in the working directory, so you want to remove from your stage, you can use that. Now the git move, the git mv file original name, file new name. Now with git mv file original name, file new name, you give a rename to a particular file. You state the original name, then you state the new name, and it will be renamed. And mind you, that rename you did will also be committed, as in it's going to be recorded that you made such changes to a particular file name. Now the git log. With the git log, you specify history of all commits and this and that you have done, extensive history of all the actions you have done on your repository is going to be detailed with git log. It's always overwhelming, a long list. So if you don't want it to be in a long list, you kind of use git log one line, so it summarizes the whole stuff on a single line, the whole report on a single line. But if you say git log dash dash follow, then you specify the file to list its version history. So here it's general and here it's more specific to a particular file. Now the git show, whenever I use the git show, well, let's check the git fetch first. The git fetch helps as a command to fetch from your remote repository into your local repository, and your git pull helps to take from your remote repository to your working directory. The push does the other way around. The push helps to take from your local repository into your remote repository. Now back to git show. The git show output metadata and content changes of specific commits. It outputs metadata and content changes of specific commits. I don't use it most often. Now let's share some terms. We're talking about branch, margin, clone, and blah blah blah. Here is what it means. Branch means you creating a separate copy of your code. Margin means you merging branches together, of course, and clone means someone somewhere as a developer is kind of copying your code, since you give such a person the privilege to. So that will be all for now. Thank you very much and have a wonderful time. I remain my humble self. I'm Zat Abibulai from CodeTrick Nigeria Enterprises. Okay. See?